From the website on Agenda Gurch, which is the agenda of our beautiful, inspiring brother Ernst, they say, well, look, there is no quick answer to this. That's like right there. If you want to know what syntropy is all about, and say we have to be honest, and immediately warn you that you won't find a recipe ready to copy and paste it. Syntropic agriculture, also described as successional agroforestry, is not a technology package that can be purchased, nor a definitive design plan that fits all tastes. It's first and foremost a change in perspective. It's a new proposal for reading the ecosystem, which enables the farmer to seek his or her answers using another reasoning, quite different from what we're used to. Now, I have put a little bit of wording to it myself. I consider syntropic agroforestry in context of humans feeding each other on the earth as the missing link between the practices and principles of permaculture, conservation, reforestation, and farming commercially on really whatever level. It is a method of rapid recovery of degraded soils, and it's used for sustainable agroforestry. The method, in essence, is an attempt at imitating the natural processes of species and their succession. Through a means of accelerating the processes through strategic interventions, the net result, the outcome of these practices is that in only 5 years of time, completely degraded systems and soils can now support highly productive and diverse agroforestry systems. Evidence is presented that even in regenerated soils, the dynamics of natural species succession play an important role in ensuring the health and thrivality of the complete ecosystem. Here's a really nice little picture of life and our planet. We have Venus, we have Earth without life, we have Mars, and we have Earth nowadays. And there's a whole bunch of things there on the left. This is carbon dioxide, nitrogen, oxygen, argon, surface temperature, and the total pressure. If you had an Earth without life, you would see that Earth and Venus would be pretty much the same. The surface temperature would be about 290 plus or minus degrees Celsius based on the distance that it is from the sun. Mars is in, of course, obviously a little bit of a further away region, so its temperature is a little bit lower, but it doesn't really have a lot of life. But we have life on our Earth. And look at the tremendous change that we can just compare, that the surface temperature is roughly on the totality of the Earth about 13 degrees, and it's got a totally different calibration in terms of nitrogen and carbon dioxide, which in an Earth without life is like skyrocketing high. But because we got life on the Earth, all that carbon is being sequestered and is there, the building blocks of life. And so that's all being made use of through the active living life forms. Syntropy and plant life. Plants are highly syntropic, and this is a quote from a training that Ernst gave. Their primary character lies in the ability to transform, organize, and optimize elements like water, minerals, sunlight, as in solar energy, into complex systems of life. Now, what you'll hear and what you've been hearing is that I'm using this word life in so many different ways because it's the only real English sound that we have to relate to life. And one really beautiful, because it's life in its totality. It's not life in a box. It's not life in a decompartmentalized element. Grass is as much life as the banana tree is because it's living. And so we're dealing with a living metric that is not stagnant and able to be put in a still frame because it's continuously growing, expanding, moving, and succeeding itself. One of the really beautiful things that keep coming up for me in relation to syntropic mindset is when I did my training, I had a beautiful man there that was like $1 million success guy, and he was like just really into the mindset of things, and he received the previous presentation in full, and he was like, okay, I get it, Patricia. Can you just break it down for me? You know, I'm a businessman. I want to sell this. I want to turn this into distribution and within my networks. And Can you just break it down, like just summarize everything that you said into just some dot points, some stepping stones, maybe just one line?" And she just listened to all of that. And I had my judgment coming up. It's like, wow, you want to turn this into a business, man. Wow. So that was interesting. That's where I was then. But I observed Patricia, and I was very curious because she didn't have any judgment. She's just like, a question. Wow. Everything that I just talked about. And her eyes lit up like a little girl. It was so beautiful. And she said, "Yes, I can. Life is full of life." And I just sat there and I was just like, okay, I think I heard something really profound, but this makes no sense. And the guy next to me that was asking the question, he just sort of like started writing, and then he said, "Thank you, Patricia." And he kind of kindly sat back. And it just struck me that I have been brought down into a way of relating to life that wasn't able at all to compute what she was saying. It was like she was speaking a foreign language in English to me, and I was just like, well, that's an oxymoron, or what is it? It's like, of course life is full of life, but is there more depth to it? And that opened my psyche and my mindset entirely up to exploring this syntropic mindset, which I call a mind song, because it's not being set in my mind. It's being fluid and being flexible and being open and curious, and I get all excited. So life on this planet constitutes only one great macroorganism. This is the totality of Earth. And all its ways of performing corresponds wholly in the operation of an organism as a whole. And that means that everything is connected and interconnected. What I feel to me is so relevant about this syntropic mind song or orientation is that we can allow ourselves to become influenced again, or really responding again, by allowing nature to be our primary basis of informing us. We have technology in this model, the biophilic model, which is really beautiful. What biophilic means, bio means life and philic means love. So this is like the love for life model, which is a very bioresonant model because we are life, we are living. And so this model has a different few preceding other different forms to it, but I don't find it that much relevant to go into what we used to be doing. Let us instead look at what we could be doing. And so if we let the bigger ecosystem, Terra, Gaia, Earth, nature, life, inform our decision-making processes, inform and stimulate our orientations in terms of philosophy, in terms of how we socially interact, in how we practically as humans apply ourselves, in the ways that our economy is actually orientated, or we will also find that our technology becomes totally different when we put ecology, nature, at our biophilic orientation. That is where we find our instructions from. If we put instead technology at the top, then we are having a whole different way of relating to philosophy when we put our ecosystems at the bottom. The same for the economy, which has been basically the driving engine of, you hear the politicians say, well, it's the economy, it's good for the economy, it creates jobs and it will be good for our economy. Really what with that model we get is that the ecosystem is not the informing agent of our orientations, of our technology. When economy is driving our technology and informing that the technology should just serve economy, we're getting something that we've sort of coming out of, or we're still in the midst of. When we allow the ethics coming from nature to be our agency or our agents of informing us, our social ways of relating become very holistic. And this then relates to how the ancient ones have always navigated. They knew about this, everything is interrelated, and all our relations that we are in relationship with, we want to be in harmony with. We want to have respect for all that we take, because we understand that we are an intricate part of this, and without it, we couldn't actually live ourselves. And so I find this a very beautiful model, and I go into human social ecology quite deeply in terms of how do we do it again? Intentional communities, social ecosystems as in co-working or co-living. How does it actually really work when we put syntropy, when we put the natural order, when we put the information that we get out of how life operates in and of itself, in its collaborative orientation, in its unconditional love orientation? How do we, what do we benefit letting go of and reintegrating for ourselves, but mostly remember? Because on any of this, really, now that I've been involved in it and submerging my cells and my being in all of this, this is nothing new. A lot of the languaging may be not heard before, but what we're talking about is what life's been doing for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, and many native peoples of the earth still remember this today and have lived in these life ways for many successional generations. And so we can restore that within ourselves, and I feel that once we start understanding the syntropic nature of life, we can start letting that influence how we, as maybe people that choose to want to co-live together, how we can use those principles and understandings of how life functions again towards each other. And that field is absolutely gold, because that's where the rubber hits the road in us really bringing into being a new earth. And so when I talk about syntropic agroforestry and I talk about regenerative agriculture, and I still get excited, but where the juice really is interpersonal relating between humans. We are feeling-based creatures. We are social beings. And how do we allow ourselves to let that syntropic orientation, that freedom of expression, to really inform our ways of relating and navigating together? And at some point, for those that are interested to go into that field, that really love getting their hands in the dirt, but really would like to work out how do communities actually function based on love, based on all the things that we all want it to be, but how many people don't have an experience already of having co-lived, having been in community, and the unresolved emotional imprints come out, the trauma reactions come out, and the anger and the distrust and all the human damage starts coming to the surface. I have years now of very deep introspective understanding. I studied social permaculture for almost 10 years. Then I got introduced to the syntropic orientation, and it was the missing link for me to understanding human interrelationships, social ecology, which really benefits a radical revisiting, and radical in terms of where have we actually come out of? This industrial age, this consumeristic age, this materialistic age that really has nothing really to do with human nature. So the study of syntropy is the study of nature. When we study syntropy in human ecology, we're studying human nature. And we go way past all the false narratives and all the cult programming and all the distorted belief systems that we've been programmed with, that is somehow war is just part of human nature, and famine and disease is just part of human nature. But when we study human nature in relationship to life and what the syntropic orientation is, which is abundance, collaboration, unconditional love, wow, we can start recognizing that we've been really uninformed. Yeah, we all went to the place called school. I call it education. We weren't raised in an interconnected level of awareness of how everything in life is working together. And we haven't been taught how the intergenerational interrelationships in our human ecology function. And syntropy for me is absolutely key to understanding the natural roles and responsibilities of the elders, the fathers, the mothers, the younglings, and the interpersonal responsibilities that the grown-ups have to the younger generation. And we can start seeing the natural cycles within women, within men, puberty, all of these phases that humans naturally go through. We can start making sense out of the whole picture.